So going back, I always thought that Jon and Daenerys would have a really tragic love story type ending. I did figure that they would fall in love, but what I never did think is that they would have a child. Them having a child made absolutely no sense to me, and I don't understand how it would possibly service the plot. First of all, it's been heavily established that Daenerys is barren. And I do understand there are a lot of mechanisms in the plot that could change and result in Daenerys being able to give birth to a child. But the problem of her having a kid is much bigger than that. The concept of Daenerys giving birth to a baby undermines the whole belief of her breaking the wheel. How can Daenerys truly change leadership in Westeros and break the wheel if she has an heir to take her place? Because in that sense, the vicious cycle continues. The people will suffer. Because as a family rules, it may be prosperous for a while, just like the Targaryen rule. But then you get one bad cookie, like the Mad King, who ends up putting Westeros back into turmoil. So Daenerys having this child completely undermines everything she wants to do, and it will only take time for Westeros to sink back in to the place that Daenerys is trying to rescue them from. Another important problem is the concept of ice and fire. Melisandre and many people in the fan community argue that Daenerys is fire and Jon is ice. And the reason why a baby is so important is because this baby would be the product of ice and fire, and it would be so significant to the plot. But the problem with that is that is fundamentally not true. Daenerys is 100% Targaryen fire. And I understand, Jon was raised as a Stark. He is ice. But I think people forget in last season they've completely established that he is a legitimized Targaryen and the son of Rhaegar Targaryen. So Jon is 50% Targaryen and 50% Stark. Therefore Jon is ice and fire. And if they had a baby, to get technical, this baby would be 75% Targaryen. So that baby would not express the duality of ice and fire, and it would undermine the whole concept in general. We've been following Jon's whole storyline, and it's all about duality, ice and fire, wildlings and Night's Watch, the dead and the living. So the importance here is that the baby is not ice and fire, because it's been established that Jon is ice and fire. So now the birth of this baby almost seems pointless. Because with this baby being born, it undermines Daenerys' mission to break the wheel, as well as it's less ice and fire than Jon Snow is. So I am of the belief that a baby between Jon and Daenerys would overall bog down the complete story of Game of Thrones. And if it did happen, we'd see Daenerys getting fatter and fatter every episode because there's only 6 of them. And she won't be able to be a badass dragon queen because she'd be too fat to get on Drogon. But with all that being said, and it hurts me to say, but I think that she will be pregnant in Game of Thrones Season 8. And I think at this point it has to happen. Because in Game of Thrones Season 7, there were way too many foreshadows for a Jon and Daenerys baby to not be true.
What's my name?
Jon Snow?
And why is my surname Snow?
Because you're a bastard from the north.
I never met my mother. My father wouldn't even tell me her name. I don't know if she's living or dead. So I sat there in the brothel as Ros took off her clothes, but I couldn't do it. Because all I could think was, what if I got her pregnant? If she had a child, another bastard named Snow.
You say you can't have children, but there are other ways of choosing a successor.
It's yours. It'd serve you well. And your children after you.
The dragons are my children. They're the only children I'll ever have. Do you understand?
And your family hasn't seen its end. You're still here.
I can't have children.
Who told you that?
The witch who murdered my husband.
Has it occurred to you she might not have been a reliable source of information?
So all of these scenes have an underlying purpose to introduce the audience to the concept of a child between Jon and Daenerys. So at this point, if Jon and Daenerys didn't have a kid, it would make all of these scenes that they've introduced this concept absolutely useless. We've been beaten over the head with conversations between Jon and Daenerys about her fertility potential. And just because of that, it has to happen. When you're telling a story, you need to capitalize what you're developing on. And the producers of the show have spent so much time developing this pregnancy storyline with Daenerys that I feel like it has to happen. So now I'm going to look on the bright side and try and brainstorm how they could possibly use this child and how this child would be significant. First of all, it could be a target for the Night King. It is known that there is a lot of baby imagery with the Night King. He takes Craster's babies and converts them into White Walkers. And what most people don't know is that Craster actually has Targaryen blood. So we can almost say that the Night King has a fascination with Targaryen blood, fire blood. So that baby could be something that the Night King is after. But for me personally, I think the Night King is after Jon. Jon is the combination of ice and fire, and it would explain why every time the Night King comes south, there is a savior Azor Ahai to combat him. Maybe you can say they have a duality relationship. Maybe the Night King only comes south when a savior is born. So for me, the most likely scenario for Daenerys and Jon having a baby would be the hope for a better future. I think this child will be raised by either Jon or Daenerys, whichever one ends up surviving the attack of the White Walkers. And this child will be raised to rule Westeros. But where I think that this fits into the plot the most is in Cersei's prophecy. Cersei was told that she would be replaced by a more beautiful queen. I do not think that's Daenerys because I don't think Daenerys is making it out of this war alive. So I think that when Daenerys dies, either in childbirth or an attack from the Night King, I think she will give birth to a daughter. And I think that this daughter would be the queen in Cersei's prophecy. The daughter of Jon and Daenerys would be the more beautiful queen that replaces Cersei. And I feel like as an audience that would give us some satisfaction as well as hope for the future of Westeros. But anyways, that's just me. Please let me know down in the comment section down below, what do you think will happen if Jon and Daenerys have a baby? I know in my predictions I'm going to be going through what I think will happen, even though I don't want it to happen. I just refuse to ignore all of these blatant foreshadows that almost tell us that they are going to be having a child. So, if you like this video, please check out my Season 8 prediction video. But, most importantly, check out my videos analyzing why Jon Snow is Azor Ahai, what Bran's purpose is as the Three-Eyed Raven, and what Varys' motives are as the Spider. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.